The Galactic Council had been very clear. The mission was impossible. Arya Lorne stood in the hangar bay of the Meridian, staring at the sleek reconnaissance vessel that would carry her deeper into contested space than any human had ventured in 3 years. Around her, the so-called Dragon Cubs prepared their equipment with methodical precision. 12 juvenile Drakethuri warriors, each no more than 40 solar cycles old, their iridescent scales catching the harsh overhead lights. "You understand the parameters, yes?" High Commander Voss had said during the briefing, his mandibles clicking with what Arya had learned to recognize as skepticism. "The Void Serpent anomaly has consumed 4 of our best tactical teams. The temporal distortions alone make navigation nearly impossible." Arya had nodded. She understood perfectly. That's why she'd volunteered. What the Council hadn't understood was that impossible meant something different to humans. "Captain Lorne?" A rumbling voice pulled her from her thoughts. Rakur approached, his crimson scales still bearing the adolescent sheen that marked him as one of the youngest in the group. In his clawed hands, he carried a battered metal container. "I have prepared provisions for the journey." Arya blinked. Provisions? The young Drakethuri opened the container, revealing neatly arranged portions of compressed protein bars, hydration tablets, and inexplicably what appeared to be hand-wrapped sandwiches. "My clutch mother insisted. She said no one should face the void on an empty stomach." Something warm unfurled in Arya's chest. The Galactic Council had sent them on what most considered a suicide mission, but Rakur's mother had packed him lunch. "That's very practical," Arya said softly. "Thank you." The journey into the anomaly zone took 6 hours. As they approached the coordinates where the previous teams had vanished, reality began to bend. The ship's instruments spun wildly. Time stuttered and stretched. Through the viewport, space itself seemed to breathe. "Conventional navigation is impossible here," Arya announced to her crew. "So we're not going to use it." The Dragon Cubs turned to her, their multifaceted eyes gleaming with curiosity. "Humans have a saying," she continued, pulling up a hand-drawn map she'd been working on. "When you can't go through something, you go around it. And when you can't go around it, you go through it differently." She'd spent weeks studying the anomaly. Not through tactical computers, but through pattern recognition, the same skill humans had used to navigate by stars, to track prey across continents, to find meaning in chaos. The Void Serpent wasn't random. It pulsed with a rhythm, subtle but present. "We're going to surf it," Arya said. Commander Voss would have called her insane. The Dragon Cubs, however, leaned forward with interest. Rakur was the first to understand. "You wish to use the temporal currents rather than fight them." "Exactly." Arya's fingers flew across the controls. "Every culture in the galaxy approaches problems with logic and force. Humans learned a long time ago that sometimes you have to dance with the universe instead of wrestling it." They entered the anomaly at an oblique angle, riding the edge of a temporal wave. The ship shuddered. Alarms screamed. But Arya kept her hands steady, feeling the rhythm in her bones, adjusting their trajectory with intuition rather than calculation. Beside her, Rakur began to hum a deep, resonant sound that matched the frequency of the anomaly's pulse. The other Dragon Cubs joined in, their voices creating a harmonic that seemed to stabilize the very air around them. Humans sang to keep rhythm, the Drakethuri sang to anchor reality. Together, they threaded the needle. The center of the anomaly was nothing like the Council had predicted. Instead of a void, they found a garden, an impossible space where 4 previous cruise ships floated in perfect stasis, their crews alive but frozen in time. "The anomaly isn't consuming them," Arya breathed. "It's preserving them." Rakur's eyes widened. "A temporal refuge, created by something ancient." They worked for hours, carefully extracting each vessel, using the same harmonic frequencies to guide them out. When the last ship was freed, Arya turned to her crew of Dragon Cubs. "Command is going to ask how we did this." Rakur opened his lunchbox again, offering her a sandwich his mother had made. "We will tell them we brought the right provisions." The return journey was triumphant. They emerged from the anomaly with all 4 missing crews safely in tow, alive and confused but unharmed. The Galactic Council convened an emergency session to understand how an impossible mission had become possible. Commander Voss stood before the assembly, his mandibles clicking in what might have been admiration. "Captain Lorne, you succeeded where our best tactical minds failed. What was your secret?" Arya glanced at Rakur, who stood at attention with his fellow Dragon Cubs. Each of them still carried their lunch boxes, battered, practical, and decorated with scrawled messages from family members who believed they'd come home. "We didn't try to be realistic," Arya said simply. "We brought what mattered. Heart, harmony, and hope. Also sandwiches." The council chamber erupted in confused murmurs. Only the dragon cubs understood, their scales shimmering with pride. Humans taught the galaxy that impossible was just another word for not yet attempted. And the Thari youth learned that sometimes the best weapon against the void wasn't technology or tactics. It was a mother's love packed carefully into a metal box, and the belief that you'd live long enough to eat it. The mission they called Unrealistic had succeeded because two species chose to face the infinite with finite, precious things: intuition, harmony, and the simple faith that tomorrow would come. After all, someone had packed lunch,